Welcome to the Cables to Clouds podcast. Cloud adoption is on the rise, and many network infrastructure professionals are being asked to adopt a hybrid approach. As individuals who have already started this journey, we would like to empower those professionals with the tools and the knowledge to bridge the gap.
Hello, and welcome back to the Cables to Clouds podcast. I am this week's host, Tim McConaughey, and with me are my bearded compatriots, Chris Miles and Alex Perkins. How you guys doing today? How you doing today, Alex?
I know, Tim, you got rid of your beard, man. You betrayed us.
It's getting too scraggly.
Dude, so, the running theme is how I do all the work, and you guys don't do anything but play squash and, go play sports on the weekends. I spent probably 50 hours of work between Friday and last night doing Nexus upgrades. No joke.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, dude. I'm exhausted. I was up till like 4 a.m. like 3 nights in a row. It was terrible. I can't wait to be done with doing this stuff.
Oh, you got more? You got more?
No, I just finished last night at like literally 3:30 a.m. Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, that's pretty awful. I'm sure it went well. Everything flawless.
Actually, there were surprisingly few issues. There were some features. I don't know if you know this, but when you upgrade Nexus devices from 7 to 9, you lose OSPF area commands, and you have to do it under the interface. So that's a tip for anyone doing that. Don't forget that, or things will go down. Yeah. How about you, Chris? What have you been up to?
Yeah, still not working very much. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I did actually work a little bit over the last few days. So I've been busy. Actually, I'm doing the typical thing is like right before you go on PTO, you're busy as hell. And it's almost not even worth it to take the vacation. But yeah, so I'm leaving tonight to go to New Zealand for the weekend and see a few sites on the North Island, and it'll be very nice. I'll go do all the Lord of the Rings stuff, so I'll have plenty of a report back for next time.
Oh, nice.
We need pictures.
Absolutely, I got you. If you think I'm going to go there and not take any pictures, you're crazy. So I got you.
He's taking a vacation from not working to go to New Zealand and not work. Got it.
Bingo.
Awesome. No, dude, I love it. Let's see those kids. Me, I got to keep the thing going. I can't actually say that I did any work this week, right? We got to keep Alex as the only one that actually does any work around here. So, I sat around.
You shaved your beard. That's quite a bit of some legwork, yeah?
Yeah, it took longer than I thought it would. Nah, I was getting too long, man, like too old. I tell you, I lose like 20 years when I shave this damn beard off, like I do. So I decided it was time. It'll grow back. And anyway, my wife is temporarily happy with me that I shaved my beard, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so we have with us a guest that does not have a beard, luckily, and her name is Mersedes, and we're very excited to have her with us. Welcome to the podcast, Mersedes. Nice to have you with us.
Ooh, nice. Oh. To be here.
Yes, well, obviously, yes, as you can hear now, yes, I was making a joke. She does not actually have a beard nor need a beard. It is good to have you with us. Mersedes comes to us as just a new guest for us. We haven't had her on the podcast before. I mean, we are we are several episodes in at this point, but we haven't had her before, so we're very excited to have her. Mersedes is here to talk about her cloud journey, kind of where she started and how she got to where she is now, and just a couple other things. We'll see where the conversation takes us. So, Mersedes, if you're all right with that, can we start with kind of how you started with tech? I know you didn't start there originally, like how you came into tech, how you got started.
Oh, yeah. So my story is pretty unusual. I actually started in fast food. So I had a lot of like that sort of people interaction, which is kind of what really helped me to get into technology, really being able to communicate with people and kind of calm them down once things didn't go their way. So I actually, I worked for Dominos for like 6 years. And funny story, I worked for like one of the busiest stores in the country.
Oh, wow.
So doing that and just kind of wanting to do something more with my career. I was already out of college and I wanted to just kind of do something else. I mean, there had to be more to life than just pizzas. So I actually got a little curious. I started working in a call center and I wanted to know how the call center worked. I mean, where was the data being stored? How are we able to really communicate with our customers? How are we able to keep up with all of these different types of information? So that's where I just started jumping into it. I told my manager I wanted to learn more about technology, and I just got curious, and that's really how I started.
Well,
what did you go to college for?
So I actually graduated with a bachelor's in human environmental science, which is just a fancy word for humanities. So you learn how to basically kind of do, what am I trying to say, like conflict resolution, people manage. It's a whole lot of everything.
Lots of soft skill stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, it seems like, you definitely had a lot of experience on the side that most of us struggle with, I'd say, that come in straight from the technical side.
Yeah, I agree. That's a skill that most of us tech people don't start with, right? We usually start with the tech side of it. So that's an interesting angle, totally opposite angle.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was really glad you touched on that, because I feel like there's a lot of people in this industry that haven't had to do customer service at any point in their life, and it very much shows, because you got to learn to talk people off the ledge very nicely, and I think that would be a good experience for almost, I would say, everyone to have at some point in their life to go through that, and as much as it sucks, but it teaches you a lot about interpersonal communication and things like that. Yeah,
like the help desk, right? Everyone says start at the help desk, but part of that is the customer service interactions, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Ties in.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, so you wanted to understand the call center and how it worked more. What I find is when we talk to a lot of people, I mean, not just on the podcast, but in general, people are always asking the question, well, how do I get into tech? What do I do? What are the steps that I take? So you wanted to learn more about the call center. So tell us more about how you turned that into, I guess, the tech shift, if you would. That's great.
Yeah. So one thing that I had to find was what I enjoyed, which is a step that a lot of people skip. They just want to jump into whatever their friend is doing. So I realized that since I was really curious and I like to be a little more analytical and kind of do some critical thinking, I just kind of Googled what type of roles would be great for me. A lot of people, like you were saying, like help desk or doing support. So I kind of started in user support, and I like kind of being the one like that first in line defense when somebody needed some type of issue solved. I mean, I liked being the one that they could call, and I stay with them all the way to the end to solve the problem. But I realized, the more I got into it, the more, it wasn't just me, and I had to kind of let the problems fly to somebody else. So that's really how I got started into, finding things that I like.
So I have an interesting question. So do you think your interest in understanding the call center, like how it worked, is because of the technology side, or is it because you kind of want to have a better understanding of how it's helping the customers, or both?
Ooh, maybe both. Because I really wanted to have a better understanding, but I also liked being the one to solve the problem. So I guess wanting to have both of those skills was really what kind of took me to that next step.
Right. Like they complement each other anyway. So yeah. Okay.
So when did you decide, and I'm presuming that you have, when did you kind of decide, okay, like what was your moment where you were like, okay, this tech thing that I'm getting into, like this is what I want to do. Like this is the thing now that I want to do from here on in.
Yeah. I would say when I decided that this was really for me was probably when it got really easy for me. Like most people struggled maybe like a year or two in, but I was really getting good at it. Like I would say at least 90 days in, like I'm really good at troubleshooting. I'm really good at investigating. And that's when I was just like, you know what, this is probably it for me. And I didn't feel so exhausted. I was actually excited. Like anytime I finished something or completed something.
Yeah. Passion is so important. I mean, everybody, I know, and we talked about this, I think, last episode or maybe a couple episodes ago. You know, we're all in it to make money, obviously, but, you know, we can make money doing a lot of different things. And so I think the passion piece of it is so important. You got to like what you do and you got to feel like you're good at what you do. So that's great. I was looking at the timing, and I noticed that like it seemed like you were entering the tech journey right around the time the pandemic really kind of kicked off. Was that a piece of it? Was that just bad timing and it just happens to be, or are they related at all?
But you know what? I've thought about that because I didn't know if I just got curious into like really wanting more with technology because we were starting to, you know, we were trying to go through that transition phase of going home and everybody masking up and just kind of being well connected with their homes. I don't know. I could say that it might have played a little bit into it. I think I had a lot of extra time on my hands and some extra books to read. So that might have helped me out a little bit on that part.
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys that a lot of people had, right? You suddenly had so much time on your hand. It was like, what do I do if I can't go outside? And like, if you have kids, like I can't go, you know, take them to places. I can't go play here and there. So what do you fill that time up with? That was a big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, the statistics are very high that like a lot of people took the opportunity that they were stuck at home, you know, with some of the, you know, financial stuff that, you know, the incentives that the government had put out there, not incentives, I don't know what you'd call it, you know, helping people out basically during the pandemic. You know, people were taking that opportunity to reskill and everything, but it sounded like you'd already basically started that journey even before the pandemic had really hit. So, all right. So let's, let me think about, because I've seen you, you know, I see you on Twitter all the time posting about the cloud stuff that you're working on. And I know, you know, that you have been studying at it for a while. So can you talk to me a little bit about when you kind of knew, like, or again, presuming that maybe cloud was kind of the thing you were kind of looking at or pivoting towards? Because I don't know. You didn't start with cloud, did you? Right? You kind of moved towards it, or did you start with cloud right from the beginning?
Right. So I didn't start with cloud. I had actually reached out to a couple of other people who were interested in getting into tech, or they had just kind of got their foot in the door, and they were like, "Hey, you know, have you guys looked at this cloud stuff? Like, this is getting really popular, you know, maybe this is something we need to tap into." So of course, I mean, I'd always use Microsoft products. So I just kind of jumped on Azure. So that's really where I've been digging into and trying to find my place.
What about the skills? Like what kind of skills do you feel like you needed to pick up to do the cloud? Do you think like it was different than the other tech stuff you'd been looking at before, like totally different skill set, or really just the same, but kind of towards the cloud? Because the reason I ask is a lot of people in tech now, probably even maybe in some of the people listening to the podcast, are in some transition state or thinking about a transition state, maybe, you know, going to cloud. You know, our podcast is mostly networking focused, but, you know, I think there's a lot of tech people out there that are thinking about, hey, should I think about cloud?
Oh yeah, like I looked into networking a little, so I knew pretty baseline things when it came to it. But after going into it some more, I was like, okay, maybe I need to learn, you know, a little bit of Linux, and I need to learn how these systems really work. So I think that's something that definitely gets overlooked when people want to jump into the cloud. And I mean, you got to learn that baseline stuff first.
Yeah, and as Tim put it, you know, typically, you know, we're all networkers, me, Alex, and Tim. So we've kind of dubbed this thing the MPLS moment. So I'm curious to find out what yours was. So what was the piece of technology that like you learned that really just made it click for you? Like you like maybe you were like studying for a bit of time and like, you know, you're just kind of learning the things to get your feet set. But then there was one technology that really sent you over. You were like, man, this is cool. This is awesome. And this is what I want to do. What was you?
Ooh, that's a good question, because I actually started learning SQL. That was like my first, I guess you could call it coding language. So I got really interested into databases.
Don't start a war.
I thought it was, I thought it was pretty cool, and it was easy for me to learn. I picked up a couple of Udemy videos and some books and things like that, and it just instantly clicked for me. But I kind of left it behind. I kind of wish I would have stuck with it some more, but it's definitely came in handy like along the way. I mean, these past 3 years, it's really helped me a lot. So I'm glad I started there.
That's interesting. We were laughing because I was complaining maybe just a couple episodes again that with WGU, I'm taking the bachelor's to WGU, and I was doing a SQL class, and I was complaining because I don't want to be a database administrator. So these guys are always teasing me now about being a database administrator. So it's kind of topical and funny. Now, did you get to play it? So, and I know you kind of left it behind, but did you get to play with any of the kind of PaaS, the platform, like cloud-based database stuff, or were you just like kind of like playing with it locally, or I don't know?
Yeah, so I did I believe it was MariaDB was one of the platforms. I did MySQL Server, did Microsoft SQL Server. I mean, it was a bunch of different platforms that I used, but not much in cloud at all. I kind of interested in to see, what that kind of looks like.
Okay.
I think, something that keeps coming up, I just want to call this out, is you mentioned Linux. And I think it was just last episode we were talking about this. It's something that gets overlooked a lot. It's one of those foundational things that it's hard to know, it's hard to tell people exactly what they need to know with Linux. It's more just kind of get familiar with some basics of how to use it. So I'm glad you pointed that out, because that's exactly what I think we all agree on as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny enough because my team really doesn't use any Linux. And if we have to touch it, that means something's wrong. So anytime somebody asks me if I've used it or am I using it at work, I'm like, if I have to use it, something's messed up. So I'd rather not.
When you say this, do you mean is this because the appliances are like Linux based, that you like if they're working normally, you don't have to go into the shell and try to figure out what's wrong with them? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say most of these vendors just build their systems to help us not have to interact with Linux or Unix. So it's like, yeah, if you have to get down to that granularity,
web GUI or something,
it's tough, right? Yeah.
Right.
But it's good to know it when you need it. That's 100% accurate. So if someone was, and I don't know if people have or not, but if someone was going to come to you then, Mersedes, and say like, hey, I'm thinking about tech, like where should I start? Like what? And now obviously you only have your own experience to draw on. We all do, right? Having kind of looked around a little bit, like what would you suggest to them if they're thinking about like, hey, where should I get started?
So something that I always tell people is to find what you like. I mean, if you're curious like me, like you always need to know the answer to something, maybe look for, one of those troubleshooting or analysts, like support analyst roles or, something like that. If you're a writer, maybe look into technical writing. Or if you like to do research, there's always something for somebody. And, it's not just a box that you're supposed to fit in. I just feel like there's a place for everybody and they can just kind of get in where they fit in, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely. So, I guess on your journey into cloud, what kind of roles have you basically had relating to cloud, and which ones would you maybe like to have in the future? I don't know how your career in cloud has been so far.
Oh, so I was a DevOps engineer. So that dealt a little bit with some cloud. We just used it mostly for monitoring, and we had a couple of applications in there. And I just recently started as a systems engineer. So that one's a little bit different. I'm doing some monitoring with Splunk. We use Azure. We use some network monitoring tools like Thousand Eyes. But I actually like the monitoring part of it because it does have some of the troubleshooting, and you just kind of, something's not going right. You hop up, you look at the dashboards. see where the root cause, what's the problem, where it's coming from. So I don't know if there's a title like for what I would like to do in the future, but I would like to, to just kind of be in that troubleshooting analytical type of, in that type of career field.
So like operations, basically, I can think of, right? It's mostly cloud operations, I would think, or network operations, depending on which part of it you're monitoring. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, it's like site reliability engineering.
Oh, SRE would be
Right.
great for you, actually. That's great. Great call out, Alex.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's I can send you there's a free book that Google puts out because they're like one of the pioneers of the SRE space, and it's a whole full book about what site reliability engineering is like and the skills you need, the mindset, the tools that you would use, all that kind of stuff. It sounds like it'd be exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, and there's coding involved, Linux. And the best part about SRE is that not only is it focused on troubleshooting as well, but and operations and monitoring, but on developing the ways to kind of to keep the lights on, keep things going, monitor it, and get it back up quickly. And like I said, there's a fair amount of coding and stuff in there. So yeah, that's a good call out, Alex. All right, so one of the things I noticed, and you've been what's the word I'm looking for? You've been very open about kind of learning in public, and it's been really good to see actually on like Twitter and other social media. I feel like a lot of the people out there are social media in general. A lot of people are big on celebrating the wins, but not taking the L, taking the loss as it were. And, and I personally think there's some bravery involved in just being able to say like, hey, I tried something and it didn't work. I wasn't good at it. Whatever that is, right? I failed and I'm coming back, or I failed and I'm not coming back. So if it's all right, I'd love to talk just a little bit about. I saw that you were working on the AZ-104, the Azure. Is it Solutions Associate, or I'm trying to remember what the actual title is.
Admin.
That's what it was. Solutions admin. And I know you've been working on this one for a while. And was it twice that you've taken it now?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's not a pleasant test at all. So it's one of those things where it's you think you know something, but you really don't know something until you sit down and they're asking you like something so crazy, like what was the color of this icon on the I mean, you're just like, I know this platform like from front to back. So that was I studied harder the second time. I went back over, they always tell you to go back over those weak areas. And I mean, how do you go back over something when you're weak in all the areas, right? So
or when you thought you knew it, like well enough to take it the first time, right? It's hard to do.
Absolutely. And I think the second time I took it, I only went up like 20 points maybe. And I was just like, man, it's not budging. So
I mean, it's yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that's an easy test either. I haven't taken it. Mm-hmm. I have to take it for WGU. I think it's actually the last class standing between me and my capstone, actually. So I'm almost done with my degree, and that's the last one. So I'll find out as well how much fun it isn't. But no, I think it's just really important that we be able to, say that, hey, we struggled with this, we didn't get it, and be able to be okay with that. And this is moving beyond you. Obviously, this is a bigger picture. A lot of people, and you see this on Twitter and social media all the time, where, people are like, oh, tech, you make so much money in tech. And it's so, 6 months, what was it like? Go to my boot camp for 3 weeks and you're gonna be making six figures. And like, they're selling this dream. Like it's just so freaking easy to get into. And it's not, right? Everybody sitting here, probably everybody listening to this, or at least most people listening to this, realize that that's not the case. But part of that is because part of the reason that dream gets sold, that snake oil gets sold, is because we collectively are not really great about being able to be vulnerable and get that out there and just be like, hey, look, I tried this and it didn't work, or whatever. So I just wanted to say that's really good, I guess, or I think I don't know how to say it, but I'm really excited that you were able to do that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's. I feel like you're.
I agree with it.
Go ahead, Alex.
No, go ahead, Chris. I'll jump in after you.
I was gonna say, yeah, kind of the same way you feel. I had the same experience with the like the Cisco SD-WAN exam. I took that a handful of times, and it was very strange to just walk in, know that you know something very well, and you've been, like implementing it and doing it for a very long time
working
at that
with
point.
it.
Exactly. So you know it. You're even studying the things that you don't know, that you don't deal with on a daily basis, and you walk in and it just kicks your ass, and you're like, what the hell was that? You just kind of like, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I have a lot of grievances with that test. I really don't like the way it's written. I don't like, I'm not gonna get into it because I don't want to badmouth it. But eventually I just got to the point where I just took it on the chin, and I was like, you know what? I'm not taking it again. I'm not going to do it. I was like, I fully accept that I know this product. I know how it works. I know the technology. I've implemented it for, numerous Fortune 500 companies, like in the right way. So I'm just going to have to roll with it and accept that I don't have the certification, but that's fine. And I'll live with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to beat dead horse here. The same thing, but I have multiple tests. Like I work a lot with Cisco ACI. I failed that test twice, right? Like all of us have these stories of just things that, why would you need to know this? People that actually work on this stuff every day. It's like some of these are just trivia questions, right? And not to pick on just those exams, because there's all kinds like that. But learning in public and showing that you have these failures, like Tim said, that's really valuable, and it's awesome to see things like that in the community.
Yeah. I mean, every one of us has we walked in knowing this thing backwards and forwards and just got our shit kicked, by something. So, and we've all, I don't think any one of us has been, for what it's worth, right? Maybe preaching to the converted, right? Because I don't think any of us have ever been like, oh, well, I've never failed an exam, or we've been pretty open, I'd say, generally about that. So I just think we as a community, as an industry, a community, whatever you want to call it, need to own that a little bit more and be a little bit more comfortable and support each other.
I think half mine and Tim's friendship is joking about how many times I failed my CCIE lab. So yeah, we're, I think you gotta learn to accept failure, and it's like, technology, that's how much I respect the learning in public thing. Cause like if you're going on, you're doing Twitch and all that, like your study habits, like I've already said this on the pod before, but I'm like terrified of being wrong, which is a very stupid thing because I'm wrong all the time. But the learning in public aspect of it, like technology, the number one way you learn it is by fucking it up and breaking it. Like if you're not doing that, you're not going to learn it, Yeah,
if you're doing it and it's not broken, all you learned was like one way to do it, right? Like it's when it's just absolutely freaking broke and you're beating your head against the wall. That's when you learn how it actually works, backwards and forwards. So anyway, just, so I don't know if you ever plan to go back and get it or not, maybe down the road, maybe if it makes sense, maybe never, no, and that's okay. All three answers are acceptable. Right. So just I do want to ask though, how do you deal with, those kind of stuff? And maybe it's an open question for everybody, but how do you kind of deal with those setbacks beyond obviously just picking yourself, dusting yourself off and going on to the next thing? We all know what it's like to really, really, really study and then, get our ass kicked and then really, really, really study more and feel much better about it. And then just get your ass kicked again. How do you guys deal with the setbacks there?
Ooh. I guess for me, it's just realizing, the test isn't what do they say, the end all be all. I mean, doesn't mean that you don't know it. I mean, like y'all were saying, you know how to use the tool, you know how to troubleshoot it, you know how to, that tool. I mean, like the back of your hand. So I kind of feel like, I got my agreements with that. With that test, I don't know if I'll ever take it again, only because I know how to use the tools, and I guess it's more about taking a step back and just being like, all right, well, I didn't really lose anything taking it. And, I didn't lose anything by not passing. So, let's just not take it to heart and just kind of, go for the next one or whatever that might be.
Yeah, I think like for me, my thinking around certs has definitely evolved over time. Because, of course, when everyone first starts, well, maybe not everyone, but I know for me, it was like, I got to get all these. I have to get CCNA, CCNP, CCIE, right? Like you got to get everything. But after failing and dealing through that process, I mean, really nowadays, certs are more just for giving yourself a learning plan. It's like if you want to learn something, that's the most valuable thing for a cert for me. It has nothing to do with the cert. I've had 2 certs that expired in the last year, and does not matter at all. It's like, it's just the learning plan, a structured learning plan, and ideas of like where materials are and how to look for things. That's really the most valuable part. And maybe it just takes a while for people to realize that. Maybe it takes a bunch of failures of certs to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to a previous point we made is like, I've been in the position a few times where I have to interview new engineers that we're potentially bringing on to, to our projects, to our organization, et cetera. And, a lot of times when I'm doing those interviews, the certs are great and everything, and I'm definitely going to ask some technical questions and make sure you know your shit. But I'm actually more interested in whether or not you've had positions like customer service, whether or not you know how to deal with difficult people. How do you know how to be part of a team? You know what I mean? Because I've dealt with some of the smartest people I've ever met that just cannot work with other people. And that is worse than someone that doesn't completely know what they're doing technically, because if you're, I'm more interested on how you're going to solve some of these problems than whether or not the question A, B, C about, out of some book, right?
Well, you can look that shit up, man. You can teach someone technology. It's very difficult to teach someone how to like get along with other people or work well in a team, and that's really hard to teach a person, especially an adult who's already got their whole life before they got in front of you. It's hard to teach them that.
Some of them are too far gone, baby. You're not teaching them shit. they're staying the way they are.
And like Mercedes was saying earlier, it's God, I'm blanking. I'm just blanking on my thought right now. Holy crap.
We'll cut it.
Yeah, I'll come back to it. Holy cow.
All good, man.
So one quick question I do have for you, Mercedes. So how has this learning in public kind of experience been for you? Like, how has the community been? Are people reaching out to you about this? Are you getting feedback? Are people positive? Are they negative? Because I mean, let's be frank. I know it's like, I don't want to do it because I'm scared of the criticism. I'm scared of being wrong. I can only imagine what it's like as a woman in this tech field also doing that. Because, we know that you guys are definitely the minority and do not get the same treatment. So how has that experience been for you so far?
Usually I get really good feedback. People usually give me resources that they use. Sometimes it's like a resource overhaul. And for me, I'm like, I just need, just give me one video and like one source of documentation. I can't watch 6 videos and like seven pages of doc. It's just ridiculous. But, every once in a while you'll have like that one person who's like, well, I passed it in 7 days. You should be able to pass this. You're an engineer. You should know this type of, but it's always that one or two people who kind of want to kind of puff their chest up at you. But for the most part, I've had some great people who will just ask me what resources that they should be using, when they're ready to take the test. And, they'll ask me how long I studied or how much time I put into it, or they'll kind of applaud me for, how much work I put in. So it's usually pretty good. I haven't had too many, I guess, offenses so far.
That's good to hear.
That's great.
Yeah, that's really good to hear, actually. I was worried. Our industry is like notoriously bad at at shit like this. Doesn't surprise me that you got people puffing out their chest. That one always is funny to me because you'll get it. And I know that women in this industry get it way worse than any of the guys do. That's just how it is, and that's something where I think everybody on here is working to change as much as we can. But there's always that person. It doesn't. I forget what I posted. I posted something. I don't even remember. And the guy was like, "Well, you've got all this, and don't you know this or something?" It was something really, really dumb too. It had nothing to do with technology. It was like, he was like, "Why didn't you know this?" And I'm like, "Dude, it's not related to what I do. That's why I don't know." But anyway, so let's see. We're going to turn this around. We're going to give you the mic a little bit. What is a question that we haven't asked you yet, but you kind of wish we would ask you? Like, we don't know to ask the question. What's something you want us to know that we haven't asked you yet?
Ooh, that's really tough. Man, because I don't know. You really covered the bases as far as my skills. I've spent a lot of time learning everything, putting my hands in a lot of different technologies. So I guess it would be interesting if you asked me about what I do in my free time. I guess a little more about me instead of just the technology.
Yes. I love it. No, it's funny because I was actually about to say it doesn't have to be about technology. So this is good. So I would love to know, when are you getting Elden Ring?
Oh man. I definitely need to get that, since for the most part, I've defeated Harry Potter. Not Harry Potter. Let me stop.
Hogwarts Legacy, or whatever it's called, right?
Because you can't call it Harry Potter. So
I'm teasing her. I'm teasing her because I watch her Twitch stream, and I just started Twitch streaming Elden Ring again, and she was watching it and being very supportive, by the way, as much as I was getting my ass completely handed to me. So I was like, okay, you got to play this one next then. So
absolutely. I got to get it. It has a lot of it's very similar to the Hogwarts game, because everybody kept calling it, man, like that looks exactly like Elden Ring. I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
Bro, I played Elden Ring for 15 minutes and it was so hard I turned it off. I was like,
how many times did you see? You saw you died like all 15 of those minutes?
Exactly. Once per minute I died, hands down. No way.
That's a hard game, dude. I know it seems stupid because it's been out for like a year now to even be talking about it, but dude, that game it's infinitely replayable because you get your ass kicked infinitely much. Alex is over there like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
I've been on. I used to play a lot of games, and then I've just been on a break, basically.
Oh wait, that's right.
My
works.
Kids play games. Yeah, exactly. I have a job, so Bro, my kids are always talking about Minecraft and Pokemon.
Don't even go back, bro. It's not worth it. I relapsed, and now all I do is play Call of Duty all the time. It's pathetic. I hate it.
So addicting.
Yeah. Nope.
So I want to keep this going a little bit more. What do you besides that? Obviously, besides Twitch streaming, what do you do with your free time? What are you into?
So, as most tech people, I love anime. So.
Represent.
I have been on Attack on Titan.
Yep.
What else? What else was I watching? The Chainsaw. What was the Chainsaw Man on Hulu?
I can't keep up. I can't keep up on them. My daughters now are like way more into anime than I have. I almost like fell off the wagon. I have a DVD case full of stuff that's from the early 2000s, and their favorite is My Hero Academia. That's like their number one.
Very cute.
My kids recently found Dragon Ball Z.
Oh man,
lucky you.
I've been very happy because that was when I was a kid, it was like all I watched.
I loved it. That was mine too.
Yeah, that might have been one of the first anime I saw, and I'm dating myself now, but like back on VHS, like import from Japan in Japanese. It was like one of the first anime I ever saw. Back then, you see, we didn't have that in the US, so we had to like find our friend who got them when they went to Japan, and then we had to dub the VHSs and bring them home.
Nice. Oh man.
But so just to kind of come full circle here, maybe. So one thing I want to know. So as someone that's kind of transitioned from, like you pointed out, you have a very non-traditional career path to getting into tech, and it was somewhat recent. What is something you've noticed recently that you do not like about the technology industry? Because there's plenty to like and there's plenty to not like. So what really do you dislike about it and would like to see change?
Ooh, so I don't like that people are skipping the part of tech where you have to continue to upskill. They only kind of help you to where the part where you get in the door, but not how to stay. So people get frustrated and then they give up, and it's the longevity. I think a lot of people forget to talk about.
That's a great answer. I've been pretty vocal about the tech treadmill for a while now, and how you're just on. Once you're in tech, you're on the treadmill. Like you've got to keep upskilling. You're going to get left behind. You can't. So that's to me, that's a great answer. I think it's a great answer.
So that now that I actually remember what I was going to say earlier, I was going to talk about curiosity and the desire to learn new things all the time. So we were talking about, what kind of skills Chris was talking about looking for in junior engineers. It's so important it doesn't matter if someone knows stuff. If they have the desire to go look for it and ability to find it, like I think you said in the beginning, even when you were trying to get into call center stuff, you just went on Google and started searching. I can't even tell you the amount of people that won't even do that. Like that is already a skill in itself. It might not seem like it, but it really is.
It really is.
Yeah. So that's just a really cool thing to call out, because you've mentioned multiple times that you were really curious about things and that you wanted to learn these new things. So that's definitely something to build on.
Google Foo is definitely a skill. You should probably have that on your LinkedIn profile if you don't already, but
put it on your resume.
But yeah, I think, I've kind of piggybacking on what Tim said about the tech treadmill. I mean, there's definitely peaks and valleys, right? There's things where things are changing a lot, and there's time periods where, it's pretty stagnant. I think right now it is definitely very fast paced, very evolved.
Hyper.
Right. I don't know when the next valley is going to happen. It's probably going to be a little while. But yeah, Sadie, kind of piggybacking on what you said, I really don't understand this. Like I understand that you put in the work to get your foot in the door, and that is, good on you. That a lot of people don't even take that first step. But then some people kind of have this like entitlement thing right after that step, right? Where they're like, look, I deserve to get these promotions, to get these senior positions, to move up, get paid more, blah, blah, blah. But they're not really doing anything to kind of upskill themselves. They're just kind of doing the same job. They clock in at 9 o'clock, they leave at 5 o'clock every single day. I refer to it as the lifer mentality sometimes. And yeah, I feel like as many in people in this industry probably are underpaid. I think you do kind of got to make that case for yourself to be given more responsibility, to be given more, senior type positions, right?
I think real quick, part of that I think is because, and this goes back to what I was saying about the kind of snake oil of being told like, hey, go to my 3-week boot camp and you can get 6 figures in tech, right? Like some people are buying that dream and they're, going through the process. They're getting their foot in the door. They're coming across the threshold and like, I'm here. Where's my 6-figure job? So I wouldn't necessarily, and there's no sweeping generalizations here, right? Some people are led down that road and are more or less taken advantage of. Some people are exactly who you said, Chris, where they're just like, hey, I did this. Where's my 6-figure job? I deserve it. Right. So there's, I don't think you can, again, make a sweeping generalization one or the other way. But I do think some of it might be that we kind of tricked these, there was a tricking of these people to think that all they have to do is get their foot in the door and they're going to be taken care of. And everybody in the industry that, already knows that's not the case. You got to keep going. You got to keep skilling up.
Yeah. It feels like you're seeing that a lot right now, right? Like a lot of these things cropped up during the lockdowns because they knew people had so much time. And now that there's not, really
it's really hard to keep up.
Close. Yeah. Well, right now people Twitter for a long time was just blowing up with everyone was coming into tech. And now it's like, I hardly hear like none of that stuff is happening now.
Now they all got laid off.
Talking about it, but
so.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes into the whole overhiring of I mean, there was so much money being thrown around during the pandemic, not to get political or what have you, but there was a shit ton of money being thrown around during the pandemic to keep businesses going. And then zero interest loans. I mean, we've talked, I don't remember if we had talked about that on the show yet before, but like VC money with zero interest rate loans and stuff. So much money flowing into tech, man. So much money. It had to stop sometime. And unfortunately that usually means that, you know how capitalism works, right? Once the cash flow stops coming, then people are the first thing, unfortunately, to get kicked out.
Yep, exactly.
Anyway, sorry, I feel like we totally dominated that. Sadie, did you have anything you wanted to add to that we hadn't said already, or give your own spin on it?
No, I mean, you guys are absolutely right. I mean, the glamorization of tech, right? We see all these people buying nice cars and shoes and clothes, and everybody's like, how can I get in on that in like 90 days, right? So we don't want to work hard and build projects and network with people. That's too much work. It's much more easier to take somebody's course and submit your resume and get the job. So I think a lot of people skip out on that dirty word, hard work. So
yeah.
I mean, the get rich quick scheme isn't unique to tech. It's everywhere, right?
It's certainly not to tech.
That's so true.
Okay. I think we probably need to wrap up pretty soon. What I would love to. So first, a couple things. One is, where can people find you, Mersedes?
Oh man, I'm everywhere. So yeah, I'm on Twitch. If you guys are ever on Twitch, I thought about doing some tech stuff on Twitch, but I mostly just do gaming. It's Tech Savvy Sadie on there. I'm also on LinkedIn. It's just Mersedes Henderson. And Mercedes with an S, not a C, like the car. Also on GitHub as well. So it's my name backwards. So it's Henderson Mercedes on there. I guess you can follow me on Twitter. It's not going to be all tech. Sometimes it's some weird nerd stuff. Sometimes I post about beer. Sometimes I post about food. It's going to be a bunch of random stuff, but it's Black Women Read, but it's BLK Women Read, all one word on Twitter. You guys want to follow me. So.
Okay. And we'll get all that in the show notes too, so that people can have the links and everything. So we'll take care of that. Okay. Guys, any closing thoughts?
No. Thanks, Sadie, for coming on. This has been great. I think much like any of the other episodes, we kind of expanded this to talk about much more than we originally intended to. But that's always a good thing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. Keep learning in public. I think like everyone has said, it's really cool to see, and I wish more people talked about it and embraced failures and victories as alike.
Absolutely.
And I'll echo those sentiments as well. So again, thanks for being our guest today, Mercedes. And we'll see everyone on another episode of the Cables to Cloud podcast.
Hi, everyone. It's Alex. And this has been the Cables to Clouds podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe to us in your favorite podcatcher, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications for our YouTube channel to be notified of all of our new episodes. Follow us on socials at Cables2Clouds. You could also visit our website for all of the show notes at cables2clouds.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.